Thoughts. I'm joined by AI and tech expert Dan Södergren. Dan, good to speak to you. How surprised are you about this?
Well, I normally talk about positive side of using artificial intelligence and tech and the future of work, but it's not surprising. We've known about this, unfortunately, for many, many years. You've got to remember, everyone, that if you're not buying a product online, you are the product online. You've got to remember most of these platforms are completely free. And it used to be, when I was training people about this, in the happy days of social media, we could say social media was quite a good thing. But unfortunately, social media is now more the attention economy. And the attention economy means eyeballs, and eyeballs equals cash and adverts. And sadly, humans' hearts and emotions means data, which means even more money, because you can use that for adverts and you can do it for very subversive things. So sadly, social media has now become, it's almost like anti-social media, and that's sadly how they make money. But this, of course, is not a new thing. You've got to remember. Negative emotions have always sold. If you're old enough to remember newspapers, etc., if it bleeds, it leads, as we used to say.
That's very true, actually. Yeah, gosh. That's going back a bit.
Well, exactly. But this is now times 1,000 because of all the data they have. And so there's big implications for society.
So what are social media algorithms and how do they work exactly? I wonder if you explain that to our audience.
Well, if you kind of continue the old analogy of a newspaper, let's say, or a radio show, it's almost like what you've done. You can cater just one of those for one person, and it's continually changing. And it does so with a load of maths behind it. And this is what they call your feed. And if you even think about that word itself, the etymology of the word feed, it's what they're feeding you, right? What's the food they're feeding you? And the algorithm chooses that the ingredients, this is a maths machine behind it with machine learning, etc. And of course, it can do this en masse because of the data they have. Now, the problem you might have in the world is that sometimes, it's called this kind of dark tech technology, because you don't know exactly what's in that black box. But what we do know is that the outcome for the social media companies is you stay online more. It might be using rage to make you do it, or love, or positive news. But as I say, positive news doesn't work as well as negative. And so the algorithm just keeps feeding you potentially negative stuff to keep you on the platform. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And just say you get stuck down these rabbit holes and you're not comfortable, you want out. How do you get out? How do you change your algorithms?
Well, this is the whole point. You can't. You can't change the algorithm. The algorithms are built behind the scenes, right? It's a little bit like saying, how do we all stop using fossil fuels? Well, the oil, the massive companies are already pumping the oil out, and the negative side for society is already happening. The governments have to step in and say, hey, whoa, that algorithm that you're using here for our country is not acceptable for our laws and for our morality. Now, this means in things like TikTok, etc., the TikTok algorithm in China is completely different to the one over here. It doesn't show you all this negativity. In fact, it famously shows you things like stem cell results, and it's things like positive stories of young people being nice to their grandparents. That's literally what the algorithm does. It literally teaches them how to be a good person, right? In their view of the world. Now, our country could do exactly the same. It's just the fact that we don't have the political will at the moment, and we don't turn up to the American companies and say, hey, whoa, you need to change your algorithm for the UK and for Scotland, or for any of the places in the UK, which is a shame. Europe's starting to kind of realise there is an issue here. And luckily, some countries like Denmark and others are kind of forerunning in this, and they are starting to go up against Facebook, etc. But of course, going up against Facebook is like going up against America or even bigger. That they are massive, they're huge billion-dollar companies. How do you go up against, a £500 gorilla in the corner? Well, you make sure you say sir before you say anything, right? So this is the problem we've got.
Oh, my goodness. That was well put. I love your analogies. Thank you so much, as always, AI tech expert Dan Södergren there. And you can watch The Rage Machine on iPlayer tonight at 9 p.m. on BBC Two. A Meta spokesman denied the whistleblower's claims, saying we have strict policies to protect users on our platforms and have made significant investments in safety and security. And a TikTok spokesperson said criticisms ignore the reality of how TikTok enables millions to discover new interests, find community and support a thriving creative economy.